Los Angeles, 1977. The year cocaine was currency and excess was religion. In the smoky backroom of the Roxy Theater on Sunset Boulevard, two titans of rock sat face to face across a velvet booth. Between them, a bottle of Dom Perignon. Around them, the ghosts of 1,000 wild nights yet to come. Freddie Mercury, Elton John, two men who didn't just live life, they devoured it. But tonight, something shifted in the air, something dangerous. Elton, wearing his signature oversized glasses encrusted with rhinestones, leaned forward with that mischievous grin that had seduced stadiums. "Freddie, darling," he said, swirling champagne in his glass. "I've heard the rumors. They say you're the wildest man in rock and roll." Freddie's eyes, those dark, knowing eyes, flickered with amusement. He adjusted the silk scarf around his neck and smiled. That smile, the one that promised chaos and beauty in equal measure. Rumors, dear Elton, are often disappointing compared to reality. Elton laughed, a loud theatrical bark that turned heads across the club. "Then let's settle this properly, shall we? A bet. 1 week, Los Angeles. We'll see who truly knows how to throw a party worth remembering." The room seemed to hold its breath. Freddie took a slow sip of champagne, never breaking eye contact. "What are the stakes?" "Pride, darling. Bragging rights. And the loser—" Elton paused for effect. "The loser has to perform at the winner's next birthday party, in drag, as a backing singer." The absurdity of it hung in the air like expensive perfume. Then Freddie extended his hand across the table. "You have yourself a wager, Miss Elton." Their handshake sealed something that would become legend. What neither man knew was that this bet would spiral into 7 days of such spectacular excess that even Los Angeles, a city built on spectacle, would struggle to contain it. And at the end of it all, one truth would remain. Some men don't just attend parties. They become them. Freddie Mercury didn't do anything halfway. The morning after the bet, he woke in his rented mansion in Bel Air, with sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, and a singular thought burning in his mind. I must win. Not because he needed to prove anything to Elton. They were friends, after all. Brothers in the strange religion of rock and roll excess. No, Freddie needed to win because mediocrity was death, and he'd rather die than be ordinary. He picked up the phone, a gaudy gold-plated thing on his nightstand, and began making calls. First, he called Paul Prenter, his personal assistant. "Paul, darling, clear my schedule. Everything. For the next 7 days, I'm going to remind Los Angeles why they invented the word fabulous." Then he called Roger Taylor, Queen's drummer. "Roger, I need you in Los Angeles. Tomorrow. Don't ask questions. Just bring your appetite for chaos." He called Brian May. He called John Deacon. He called designers, caterers, club owners, and several people whose professions were best left unnamed. By noon, Freddie had assembled what could only be described as an army of hedonism. Meanwhile, across town, in his own Beverly Hills estate, Elton John was doing exactly the same thing. His team was legendary. Bernie Taupin, his lyricist and closest confidant, his manager, John Reed, and a rotating cast of Hollywood's most beautiful and dangerous people. Elton's strategy was simple. Outspend, outlast, outdazzle. He'd throw parties so lavish that Freddie would have no choice but to surrender. But Elton had made one critical miscalculation. He had assumed this was about money, about spectacle, about who could rent the biggest yacht or hire the most expensive DJ. Freddie understood something deeper. The best parties aren't bought. They're conjured. They're magic. And Freddie Mercury? He was a sorcerer. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Elton struck first. Night 1 was his opening salvo, a party at the legendary Chateau Marmont. He'd rented the entire hotel, every room, every suite, the pool, the restaurant, everything. 300 guests, an open bar that never closed, a live performance by Diana Ross. It was spectacular. It was excessive. It was everything Los Angeles expected from Elton John. Freddie attended, of course. He arrived fashionably late, wearing a white suit that seemed to glow against his olive skin. He drank champagne. He danced. He charmed everyone in the room. But he was studying, watching, learning. At midnight, Elton found him by the pool. "Well?" Elton asked, spreading his arms wide. "What do you think?" Freddie smiled that enigmatic smile. "It's wonderful, darling. Absolutely wonderful." He paused, swirling his drink. "But I'm afraid you've made a tactical error." "Oh? And what's that?" "You've shown me your hand. Now I know what I'm competing against." Elton laughed, but there was uncertainty in it. "And what exactly are you planning, Mr. Mercury?" Freddie leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more power than any shout. "Tomorrow night, I'm throwing a party, but I'm not inviting 300 people. I'm inviting 30, and no one will know where it is until an hour before." 30 people? Elton scoffed. "That's not a party, that's a dinner." "We'll see." The next night, 30 people received cryptic phone calls. Each was given an address in the Hollywood Hills and told to come alone. No plus ones, no press, no cameras. Among those 30, David Bowie, Bianca Jagger, Liza Minnelli, Rudolph Nureyev. The most fascinating people in Los Angeles, all summoned by Freddie's mysterious invitation. The location was a small, unremarkable house tucked away on a winding road. No valets, no red carpet. Just a simple door with a single instruction painted in gold. "Leave your armor outside." Inside, the house had been transformed into something intimate and strange. Candlelight everywhere. Persian rugs. Cushions instead of chairs. Music playing softly. Not disco, not rock, but something older. Something that felt like it belonged in a Moroccan palace. Freddie greeted each guest personally at the door, taking their coats, pouring their first drink himself. There was no performance, no spectacle, just conversation. Real conversation. The kind that happens when you put 30 extraordinary people in a room and give them permission to be themselves. David Bowie and Freddie sat in a corner discussing art and immortality. Bianca Jagger and Liza Minnelli laughed about failed marriages and impossible expectations. Rudolph Nureyev danced alone in the center of the room while everyone watched in reverent silence. At 3 a.m., someone started playing piano. Freddie joined in, singing softly. Then Bowie added his voice. Then Liza. Soon everyone was singing. Not performing, just singing because it felt good to make music with friends. When the sun rose over Los Angeles, the 30 guests stumbled out into the morning light, exhausted and transformed. They'd experienced something rare, a party that felt like intimacy, like trust, like family. Word spread quickly through Hollywood's underground. Freddie Mercury's party had been different, special, impossible to replicate. Elton heard the whispers and felt something he rarely felt: doubt. This wasn't going to be the easy victory he'd expected. The bet consumed Los Angeles. By day 3, everyone who mattered knew about the wager between Freddie and Elton. The city divided into camps. Team Freddie, Team Elton. People placed actual bets on who would win. Elton, feeling the pressure, doubled down. Night 3, a party on a yacht in Marina del Rey. Not just any yacht, a 200-foot vessel complete with a helicopter pad, a full orchestra, and fireworks that could be seen from Santa Monica. It was magnificent. Over the top. Pure Elton. Freddie attended wearing a Navy captain's uniform he'd had custom-made that afternoon. He saluted Elton with a champagne flute and said, "Well done, Captain Fantastic. You're making me work for this." But Freddie's next move was unexpected. Night 4, no party at all. Instead, Freddie invited Elton to dinner, just the two of them. A small Italian restaurant in West Hollywood that nobody famous ever went to. They sat in a corner booth, eating pasta and drinking red wine like two normal people who happened to be international rock stars. "Why are we here?" Elton asked, genuinely confused. Freddie twirled spaghetti on his fork. "Because, darling, I wanted to remind you that sometimes the most memorable moments aren't the biggest ones. They're the quiet ones, the real ones." "This is part of the bet, isn't it?" Elton's eyes narrowed. "You're trying to get in my head. Is it working?" They both laughed. Real laughter. The kind you can only share with someone who truly understands you. "You know what the problem is?" Elton said, leaning back. "We're both trying to win by being more. More extravagant, more expensive, more shocking. But we're forgetting what actually makes a party good. And what's that? The people you share it with." Freddie raised his glass. "Now you're learning." But the peace didn't last. Night 5, Elton threw a party at the Troubadour that turned into a near riot when he hired every drag queen in Los Angeles to perform simultaneously. The club was packed with feathers, sequins, and enough hairspray to constitute a fire hazard. Freddie retaliated on night 6 with something that would become legendary: the invisible party. He sent out invitations telling people to go to different locations around Los Angeles: a park bench in Griffith Park, a specific table at a diner in Echo Park, a phone booth in downtown. At each location, they'd find an envelope with their next instruction. It was a scavenger hunt through the city, and at each stop, guests collected pieces of a puzzle. The final location? A private rooftop in Silver Lake where Freddie had set up a single long table, family style, with home-cooked food and string lights. 50 people arrived throughout the night, strangers brought together by mystery and Freddie's vision. By the end of the evening, those strangers were friends. Elton, when he heard about it, said only, "He's a genius, an absolute genius." The score was tied. 3 nights remained, and both men knew the finale would have to be something neither Los Angeles nor the world had ever seen before. Night 7 belonged to Elton. He'd been planning it for days. A party at the legendary recording studio, the Record Plant, where he'd announce a surprise album and invite every musician in California to jam until dawn. But something happened that changed everything. That afternoon, Freddie received a phone call that shattered his carefully constructed confidence. His mother, in London, was ill. Not seriously, a bad flu, but enough that Freddie felt the weight of distance, of mortality, of all the things he'd been running from through champagne and costume changes. He sat alone in his Bel Air mansion, staring at the phone after hanging up. And for the first time in days, he felt something other than excitement. He felt tired, human, small. Roger Taylor found him there an hour later, still sitting in silence. "Fred, you all right, mate?" Freddie looked up, and Roger saw something in his eyes he'd rarely seen. Vulnerability. "I don't know why I'm doing this, Roger. This stupid bet. These parties. What's the point of it all?" Roger sat down beside him. "Because you're Freddie fucking Mercury, and you don't know how to do anything halfway." But what if halfway is enough? What if all this excess, all this performance, what if I'm just hiding? Hiding from what? Freddie didn't answer. Not with words. But Roger understood. They all understood. Freddie was hiding from the same thing they were all hiding from. the inevitable end. The knowledge that no matter how bright you burn, eventually the flame goes out. "You should skip tonight," Roger said gently. "Tell Elton you're sick. No one would blame you." But Freddie Mercury didn't skip things. He showed up. Even when he was broken, even when he was terrified, even when every instinct told him to hide, he showed up. That night at Elton's party, Freddie arrived wearing the simplest outfit he'd worn all week. Black jeans, a white t-shirt, a leather jacket. No makeup, no jewelry, just Freddie. Elton noticed immediately. In the middle of the party, surrounded by hundreds of people, music blasting, champagne flowing, Elton pulled Freddie aside into a quiet hallway. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." "Your party is wonderful." "Don't lie to me, Freddie. We're past that." And there in that hallway, Freddie told him about his mother, about the exhaustion, about the existential dread that sometimes crept in during the quiet moments between the noise. Elton listened, really listened. And when Freddie finished, Elton said something unexpected. "Let's call off the bet." "What?" "The bet. It's stupid. We both know it. We're not competing anymore. We're performing. And neither of us is having fun." Freddie considered this. "But we have 2 nights left." "Then let's do something different. Something that actually matters." "Like what?" Elton smiled. That genuine smile that his closest friends knew meant he was about to suggest something either brilliant or insane. "Let's throw one party. Together. Not to compete, not to win. Just to celebrate being alive." Freddie felt something shift inside him. A weight lifting. A cage door opening. "Yes," he said quietly. "Yes, let's do that." They had 24 hours to plan the impossible. The final party, their collaborative masterpiece, would take place on night 8 at a location both iconic and unexpected, the Santa Monica Pier. Not inside a venue, not on a yacht. Right there on the pier under the stars, with the Pacific Ocean stretching endlessly behind them. Freddie and Elton worked together like conductors preparing for a symphony. They invited everyone who'd attended any party that week. The 300 from Chateau Marmont, the 30 from the Whisper Party, the drag queens, the musicians, the artists, the misfits. No VIP section, no hierarchy, just people. They set up a stage at the end of the pier where anyone could perform, professionally or terribly. It didn't matter. They brought food trucks with everything from tacos to caviar. They strung thousands of lights that reflected off the water like captured stars. The theme was simple. Come as you are. No costumes required. No expectations. Just show up and be present. That night, as the sun set over the Pacific, something magical happened. Over 700 people gathered on the Santa Monica Pier. Strangers became friends. Celebrities danced with people who'd never heard of them. Music played, not from one genre, but from all of them, bleeding into each other like colors in a painting. Freddie and Elton stood together on the stage, looking out at the crowd. "You know what's funny?" Elton said. "We spent a week trying to out-party each other, and this thing we threw together in a day is better than anything either of us did alone." Freddie nodded. "That's because we stopped trying to win. We just tried to create something beautiful." They performed together that night. Not a rehearsed set, just songs they both loved. Elton on piano, Freddie on vocals, trading verses and harmonies like they'd been doing it for years. When they sang Your Song, 700 people swayed in the ocean breeze. And for a moment, Los Angeles remembered what it felt like to be young and hopeful and unafraid. Near midnight, Freddie took the microphone alone. "I want to thank you all for being here tonight, for being part of this beautiful, ridiculous, excessive week. Elton and I started this as a bet, as a competition, but somewhere along the way, it became something else. It became a reminder that life is short and strange and often painful. But it's also full of moments like this, moments where we come together and create joy out of nothing but intention and music and love." He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. So here's what I want to say. Stop waiting for permission to be extraordinary. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to live fully. The perfect moment is now. The perfect place is here. The perfect person is you. The crowd erupted in applause that mixed with the sound of waves crashing against the pier pylons. Elton walked over and put his arm around Freddie. "Who won?" someone in the crowd shouted. Freddie and Elton looked at each other and smiled. "We both did," they said in unison. 3 weeks later, Freddie Mercury returned to London. The party circuit continued without him. It always does. Los Angeles moved on to the next scandal, the next excess, the next headline. But something had changed in Freddie. He'd learned that you could be extraordinary without being excessive. That intimacy was more powerful than spectacle. That the people you share your life with matter more than the number of people who know your name. Years later, when asked about the bet with Elton John, Freddie would smile that knowing smile and say, "We both won, because we both realized winning didn't matter." Elton, in his own interviews, would echo the sentiment. "That week taught me more about friendship and humility than 10 years of therapy." The final party on the Santa Monica Pier became the stuff of legend, not because it was the biggest or most expensive, but because it was genuine. People who attended that night would tell their children about it, and their children would tell their children, until the story transformed into myth. Some say you can still feel the energy on that pier on certain nights. When the wind comes in just right off the ocean, and the lights of the Ferris wheel spin like a constellation come to Earth. You can almost hear echoes of music and laughter. Almost hear Freddie's voice reminding us that we're all extraordinary if we just stop trying so hard to prove it. The bet between Freddie Mercury and Elton John ended the way all the best stories end, with a question rather than an answer. Not who won, but what did we learn? And the answer, whispered on the wind that still blows across Santa Monica Beach, is this: the best parties aren't the ones you throw to be remembered. They're the ones you throw to remember what it feels like to be alive. Freddie knew that truth long before the bet began. But sometimes, even legends need to be reminded.